There. Okay. It should not be
Live.
Should be. I think.
Where's my phone?
I have
Ah,
the thing going, but I don't know if my phone went off.
Yep.
Rock.
what's going on, everybody? It's almost in full color crew. I am Keith. I'm joined by the proprietors of this YouTube channel, Terry, Roger, and Gaines. That's T the Best, Yellow Squirrel, Plucka Plucka, in order. How are we doing, gentlemen? We're at the end of the
Pretty
year.
good.
End of the year.
Man,
End of
skipping
the
a
year.
month, ain't you?
He definitely did. He definitely did skip.
Yeah.
Man, it's like the 20th or something like that. What day is it today? It's
21st.
the 21st. Yeah, November's about
Skip
done.
him off. Terrible.
We got a bunch of game of the year announcements, but before we get to that, a few other things I thought would be good to talk about at this time as we kind of come into the end of the year. Things that we've seen happen that have led to some fan issues or just consumer issues and some dev issues that have happened. So to kick it all off, Helldivers 2 comes out, great acclaim. People love the game. And as people start to really consume the game, they ask, hey, where's the DLC? Where's the new content? And they're like, oh, well, we really didn't expect this to happen like this. So we're working on it, but we're not going to be able to get it to you that fast. And so that led to fan letdown. People then say, oh, well, I'm just going to leave the game then, which kind of led to the conversation of, should we begin to mark certain games with, double A, triple A, indie game titles or labels so that people kind of like come into an understanding what it is? Or, is there another way that you think that people should kind of notify people who are going to invest into a game, especially one thing I did not look at. I don't think Helldivers 2 was listed as a game as a service. I'm pretty positive it was not. But just should there be very clear markings of this is what this game is, this is what you're buying into, or do you feel like consumers should do more research before buying into something?
I would say that it's one of those like catch 22, maybe double-edged sword type thing. It's like obviously a lot of people hate DLC because they don't want DLC to feel pre-planned. Like this could have been content we had day one, but you wanted to sell us DLC, so you kind of held it back, and so you get that as well if you have DLC ready, I guess, too fast. But then again, like you said, they didn't have DLC ready because they didn't expect the massive player base that they ended up getting. And then it's like, well, where's my DLC? Like you should have had DLC on the ready because like we've already kind of no life this game and we've ate up all the content. There's really nothing to do. We need more stuff. So it's kind of one of those ones where it's like you really can't win. I mean, I guess the only way you win, I guess, if you do have DLC ready and your game does blow up. So it's just like, great, like now we can hurry up and push this out. But you'll probably still get people that complain if the DLC hit too fast. But I guess you could always just hold it until you start getting the clamorings for like, where's the next bit of content? And then you kind of say, okay, well, in a month or 2 months, like, this next bit of DLC is going to hit to give you guys like, more missions or more worlds or whatever it is. I've never played Helldivers 2, so I'm not sure how it revolves around, but I would assume it's similar to Destiny, except for probably with obviously some changes, but I mean, it's technically basically like a little live service game. So I guess I assume it can only be so much different. Like they all kind of revolve around the same stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, hopefully they can get something out, but now it's going to kind of be like Power World, whereas like Power World kind of came out, they kind of told everybody like, hey, like this is still in development. Like this really isn't the game. And then people just no liked it and was like, well, now we want the game and we want more stuff. And it's like, well, we don't have more stuff. So usually, like you said, people end up leaving and then it gets harder to justify dumping more money into the game to create this new content because now you have to get the people back. And it's always harder to get people back to your game than it is to keep them in your game. So
Real quick before Terry and Roger go, Helldivers 2 was not listed as a game as a service. People felt that because Sony was making that big push, that it was going to fall underneath that umbrella, but it did not. They said no, this is not a part of that Sony push. This is its own thing, and people just thought, oh, you guys are doing Concord and all that stuff, which was supposed to be a game as a service.
It's just a lie. I was just a online multiplayer game.
Yep, that's all it's supposed to be. But people felt
it's weird because the devs treat it like a live service because every single day they'll put out like information of like, oh, the bugs have been destroyed on this world. The humans have lost this world. Like they kind of like made it seem like what's that game that we all used to play? Eve Online, I think it was.
That might have been just you.
Rust or Dust or
no. It's the one where
Eve Online would think was connected to the game. God, I can't remember if it was Dust or
PlayStation players played on the ground. PC players had to play in outer space or something like that.
Yeah, PC players like sent you to a planet, and when you like queued in, like it'd be like team deathmatch, but someone on PC actually sent your team to this planet to try to take it over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've never played this game.
God, I think it was called Dust, but I can't recall.
No, it was called Eve. I think it was Eve. Well, anyways, they kind of made it the same way, where it was just like every single day or every single week they would announce like, oh, this is what's currently happening. So it's like, I think Helldivers kind of shot themselves in the foot on that one more so. Whether or not it pertains to whether AAA titles should be making notice of DLC, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, Pokemon does it, but we all see how that kind of goes. Pokemon, I guess, can get away with it, but Call of Duty used to do it. Destiny did it at the beginning. So I guess it's just hard to say if it's even worth it at this point. It can go either way. It can be great or it can be bad. I guess it's just depending on how you do it.
Yeah, I was trying to think if games are really marked as game as a service. I mean, I know we follow stuff, so we know like online, but I don't know if I think that aren't they just still more like multiplayer or online, and that's about it.
They don't really advertise them as live service. It just kind of like what you said. The community kind of brands it like before it comes out. It's like that's going to be a live service game. Which weirdly enough, live service is basically just like it's going to continually get like content updates. So I guess in a way you kind of say it was, I mean, kind of similar to like the old games where we would get like map packs and stuff like that for like our multiplayers. I mean, I don't feel like it's a ton different, but I don't know. Maybe maybe the live service is a little bit different. I guess now because they tie in like Battle Pass and all that stuff. So.
Am I the only one tripping? Games is camera.
No, that's what I was about to say.
Right, like
it's moving slow.
Not for mine.
That's weird. That's weird because it was moving slow for me, and none of y'all said it. And I was like, oh, maybe it's just me. And now it's like back perfect for me. And then now Roger and Terry's like, yo, Games camera's going crazy.
I thought it was something else. Like I thought it was actually just you just chilling, but no, your camera's like dead.
Oh, I don't know.
But anyways, for like while Gaines does some technical difficulties,
about this camera
better.
Okay,
it was always fine for me, but you know how Breeze do.
They put up AI images for you, thinking it was working. But now the AAA label, I just always assume a game's a game. Like to me, I just never expect DLC. It's always kind of a gamble with just software in general. Like you buy something and kind of expect something in the future, but you don't know if you'll really even necessarily get it. AAA titles usually are pretty good with it. They'll be like, hey, we're releasing 4 DLCs this year when the game comes out. But other than that, it's like I don't actually have it at that moment, so I can't expect a DLC. Yes, it does further the games, and with a lot of online games now, everyone expects that like growth now with each game, which some games are just like, hey, we just made a multiplayer game, we didn't expect this. And to Terry's point with Helldivers 2, they did treat like more was coming. There used to be updates all the time about the worlds being taken over. I don't even know if they still do that anymore.
I'm not sure.
But to me, DLC is just like a future thing I'm not really expecting because I just didn't buy it at first. So you're never guaranteed that DLC.
Yeah, I would like clear markings. Just not everyone's gonna go and do their research, and not everyone's gonna kind of dive in. Some people do want to go in things blind, so kind of understand. I think some type of clear marking, or just something saying like, we do have planned DLC or not planned DLC. I kind of do like how Stellar Blade and Black Myth Wukong did, and they said, "Hey, we don't have any DLC planned, but if y'all want it, y'all gotta ask for it, and then we'll give it to you." So hopefully those people stuck around for it. I know Stellar Blade just dropped some of the DLC now, and I think the rest comes out in February. Black Myth is supposedly working on their DLC right now for the game. So I do like that, just communicative, like, if you want it, we'll do it, but we just kind of want to see support on your end. But you also had to like be tuned into those channels. I know from what it seems like, I guess just because we're in the games, like, I guess we see these things, but it seems like a lot of people just do not look at anything when they buy a game. It's like the weirdest thing to me. It's like, oh, you just went to the store, you just bought this, or you just bought it digitally, we just didn't look at anything. You just bought it, and now you're upset that there's no DLC. It's like the wildest thing to me. But there are tons of consumers out there. I guess different folks, different strokes. I don't know, but
we all got burnt on Outriders, but I think we also went into Outriders not thinking it was going to have anything anyway.
Yeah.
Game Pass on me.
Yeah,
I didn't get burnt. I got to try it out for free.
Yeah,
I didn't get to try it out for free, but I got reimbursed for it. Because I bought it on Stadia. So once Stadia died, Google refunded everybody's money for like all the games you bought. So
well, I guess y'all did get burnt on Anthem. So I guess it's
I didn't play Anthem. I didn't even
Anthem. I would say that one I got burnt on.
Yeah, I didn't buy
Anthem. I got burnt on.
It's still so tough though. You can't. It's like if you put that information on your system or on somewhere. I mean, at that point now you're promised DLC. So it's like now if you don't deliver it, I mean, I guess technically you can get hit for false advertisement. Isn't I
don't know. It feels like it's pretty difficult to pull that one. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to pull that off. Yeah, people were hit them over the 8K on the original PlayStation 5 box. Because then they removed it from the box, which kind of was the telltale sign of, but weirdly enough, it does support 8K. It's just the games don't really, but it does do 8K video out. So if you had 8K video content, you could play it out of the PlayStation 5 and it will work. But so I don't know if they removed the 8K because games were never going to be 8K, or if they removed the 8K in anticipation of the PS5 Pro coming because it's on that box. And apparently the new Callisto Protocol PS5 Pro update patch or whatever you call them now, actually the game will run in 8K 30 FPS. Obviously, it's an upscaled 8K with I think they're using PSSR to upscale it to 8K. I don't know how the game actually runs though, because Callisto Protocol did not run good on the PS5. So, like, it was extremely choppy. It wasn't really technically that good. But I don't know. It might be really, really good on the PS5 Pro.
Well, onward to a developer who is nominated for Best Ongoing Game with Destiny 2. Bungie has seen a lot of stuff happen this year. I think when we came into the year, they had about 1,400 employees that got chopped down to about 800 over time. And now 150 of those employees were sent to Sony to work for them directly. 40 of them were sent to create their own studio to produce some unknown game for Sony at this time. And now they're left with roughly about 600 people. I don't know what their split is between Destiny 2 and Marathon right now. But do you all think this is kind of like the beginning of the end for Bungie, that Sony is just like, all right, we're just going to start chopping you up and having, we're going to send some of your people here, some of them there, and just have you as like a skeleton crew to do whatever, and we just keep you a namesake? Or do you think they're just micromanaging Bungie at this time?
I would say it's not the end for Bungie. I'll say I would say that one, Sony probably doesn't have a lot of faith in Marathon, but so much has been invested in it by Bungie themselves, and I guess in a way by Sony now because they ended up purchasing Bungie. That they're just going to let it come out because all you can do is not lose as much money when the game actually releases because there's going to be people who do buy the game. So I think they're just trying to get that out and like just kind of see what happens. It probably is not going to be the greatest game. I just don't feel like that genre of game really is popular anymore. Like there might be like, kind of, you got like your little like cult following groups or whatever that still loves like the Division 2 and stuff like that, but it's not going to reap nowhere near as much money as it's going to take to like offset the development costs of that game. So I think they're trying to get that out, and they'll probably keep like a small portion of Bungie on that just to like maintain the game, like work out any bugs or anything like that. Maybe release a couple maps or something. But I think they're just going to keep Bungie really mostly as just like a Destiny 2, like just house, or so to speak, kind of like how you had your teams that Activision and all of them were doing with Call of Duty. It was like, you guys just do Call of Duty. Like, that's all you do. Like, because Call of Duty makes us so much money. Like, in order to, like, really get Call of Duty out there, we're actually going to have multiple teams who build Call of Duty so that we can get a Call of Duty out every year without, like, grinding you into the ground. You'll each have about 3 years of development to get the next one out. I think we lost Terry. But I think that's what they're going to do with the main portion of Bungie. They're just going to be basically, hey, just keep pumping out Destiny 2 content with these like episodes or whatever they're called now, which are obviously a lot smaller. That's probably all they're going to do until maybe at some point we get a Destiny 3, but I don't see that happening no time soon. I really think they're just going to ride Destiny 2 just as long as they can because it does make money. Like, it's not like they're losing money with Destiny at all. Like, they still make money. So as long as it's a profitable game, they're probably just, hey, keep just cranking out these episodes, and we're gonna ride this until we can't anymore. So
yeah, I was about to say, I think they'll just see what Marathon does, and maybe they'll like support that, whatever that game kind of is final state. But with them dividing up, it just sounds like they're just maintaining Destiny 2, adding content until that goes away, and who knows? It probably depends on the success of Marathon, what happens after that. But they're just like support role, it seems like, with all the splits and just downsizing. But yeah, hopefully we get something else. Like said, Marathon, I played a little bit of the original, not really a fan of it, but hopefully they were able to improve a lot of it. So
yeah, they might ramp up their staff, and like if they ever, like especially for Destiny 2, like if they were going to release like a big piece of downloadable content, obviously they'll probably just bring a bunch of people on board, to help get that through, and then of course they're just gonna let them all go, after it actually releases. That's just normally how those gaming companies do, at least the bigger ones anyway. So, but maybe that's it. But it doesn't look like we're getting any big content for DLC for Destiny 2 like anytime soon.
Nope. Yeah. I think it's kind of like the beginning of the end. It's funny, the one like golden goose that they had, Sony took. So they said they had a unidentified project that they were working on, and Sony was like, thank you for that, and we'll leave you with Marathon and Destiny, and that's what you're left with. So I think the only way for them to get out was that thing that they were sitting on that Sony liked so much. And now that that's not there, it's like, well, now 343 isn't 343 anymore. They're the Halo. I mean, granted, they still are 343, but they basically ripped their name off, and so
all like they would change them to Halo Studios.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's what they do with Bungie, and instead of Bungie, they'll become Destiny Studios or something wild like that. But
that'd be hilarious just to follow that.
Yeah, it would be absolutely crazy. But I kind of do feel like it's like, oh well, they really don't have a way out, especially if they're pigeonholed into this Destiny lane, which is kind of why they were upset that they were having to stay in the Halo lane beforehand, and they wanted to do other things, and now they're right back in the same exact spot that they were with Xbox. So I find it like kind of funny that this is where they landed.
That's the gift and the curse of creating a great game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk bad about Destiny 2 now all you want, but like when Destiny dropped, it was like an all-time great game. Like,
so they didn't have any failures that I could think of. That crew.
I mean, so you think about it, they went from basically building Halos, which was, I mean, those were just cash cows. Like you couldn't miss with them, at least when they were doing Halo anyway.
Yeah.
Then they went from Halo, arguably, some of the best games ever, to giving you Destiny, which arguably is the best game ever in its genre. So it's like, I mean, to have two monolithic titles like that, who were just, I mean, they just printed money like no tomorrow. Ain't too many companies that can say that they, that they've done the same. And how long Destiny 2's been around. I mean, to have a game actually be around for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Like that's extremely difficult and still be generating money.
Oh, they up to the 10-year mark. Okay.
Yeah, 13.
They've been out since PS3.
Yeah, I think it's been 13 years. Since D1.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Final Fantasy 14 is in probably DC. Final Fantasy 14 and DC, I think the only other two games I could think of off the top of my head that have been running for a long time.
DC's been around
GTA.
longer because DC started on PC.
And don't you forget GTA
5. How long was GTA 5? Was it?
10.
GTA 5 came out on the PS3.
I know it came out on PS3, so
yeah, it came out later in the PS3 life cycle. But then they redid it for the 4, and they gave you first person mode. Then they redid 5, and maybe they'll redo it for the PS5 Pro, or give you a patch update. Then you got a PS6 that may or may not be able to play Grand Theft Auto 6.
I was hoping Terry would be back for this one, but I suppose actually I'll jump to the next one, then I'll wait for that. So Sony currently is in talks about the Kadokawa Core. They own the dev teams from Software who make Elden Ring and the Souls games. Spike Chunsoft, so that's the Danganronpa games. Acquire Studios, who just put out Mario Brother, or they helped Nintendo work on Mario and Luigi Brothership. Do you all think that this buy is to help them continuously put out those first party titles every year, as we've kind of seen God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man, and now there's been a bit of a let off the throttle, Ratchet and Clank, God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man. And now we see kind of like the foot being let off the throttle on putting out those first party titles, back to back each year. Throwing Ghost of Tsushima somewhere in those years. But do you think this buy is like, hey, okay, cool, if we can get, From Software to give us, a game in here that's going to help us ensure that we have a first party title every year? Or do you think this buy is simply, we want From Software? That's pretty much the one that we want out of this, but we'll buy the whole thing, but we really just want From Software.
I think they probably just really want From Software. I mean, like you said, sometimes you got to buy everything to get what you really want. And someone who, I guess, has to buy game lots a lot of times. Then somebody might be selling like 200 games. Only like 90 to 95 of them might actually be games like of value. The other ones might just be like sports games peppered in there and some random like maybe Wii Dance games or something great that have no value at all. But you offset it with how valuable the other games are. And you're like, oh, well, it's still worth, getting these games that are basically just going to be replacement cases at some point. That's all. They have no other value outside of that. So I think that's probably the same thing they're doing. They probably just want From Software, and they're just going to take the rest of it with it. And I mean, you can always repurpose, the other things, have them work on other things or make them just come up with completely different IPs altogether or something. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bloodborne was only PlayStation, right? Or was it PlayStation PC or something?
I don't know if Bloodborne they might have went to PC, but I know it
I,
wasn't on
I
Xbox.
yeah, I know it's a
Bloodborne was
PlayStation.
like PlayStation's Dead Souls or whatever.
Yeah, so they kind of already had the like Souls kind of branded to PlayStation anyways a little bit. I mean, I know they're popular on the PC, but console wise, they were always geared there. So buying that smart. I mean, with Xbox buying a bunch of companies too, I'm sure that helped influence like, hey, people like our Dark Souls, Elden Ring on PlayStation, let's hold that. And then that way we can kind of maintain that profit as well. So I think it's that. And of course, I mean, Sony loves the single player games and they are the top one of the top single player games there. I mean, anytime From Software puts out a game, it's talked about all online.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like they are doing it just to have those first party titles keep coming out every year. I think now that we see game delays and all these, dev departures and things of that nature, people having to go back and repurpose. I think the Wolverine game after that got leaked, they just said they had to go back and that's going to take some more time before it comes out. So I think just getting them helps them just bolster. Okay, we'll be able to kind of stagger things out going forward and really help the other dev teams so that when they're late to the party, making that game that's supposed to be PS5 Pro enhanced. All right, cool. Well, we got this other one kind of there to help just kind of lighten the load or the expectation, if you will, of them to have these games like right then and there. Because as you know, the console wars go, people say, "Oh, haha, Game Pass is starting to suck now." And they're like, "Hold on," but Sony said they'd have a first party game every year, so they suck too. And then it's like the war begins, and I think some of that filtered in, and they said, "Okay, cool. I think we got to get somebody." And I think that probably From Software is probably like the most consistent at putting out games, like at least in a good timeline. Square Enix always has delays, so I think that will probably be a bad one. And Bandai Namco it seems like they're not hurting for a whole lot, so I doubt they really want to be bought at this time. Unlike Ubisoft, who I think was looking to be bought, but no one wants them at all. It's bad, but Air still is not back, unfortunately. The show goes on. So Black Ops 6 launched, and they have a great campaign, but there is no co-op whatsoever in it. And that's not just with them. Many FPS titles, they're kind of abandoning that co-op experience. Do you ever like co-op? Like, is that something that just is about to just die out now? Just co-op campaigns? Is that something that's just a nostalgia thing just for us to, sitting side by side and doing it, and then making it to multiplayer stance where it's like, oh snap, I could just join you online, I could just join in your game and we could do it that way and co-op a campaign on like the hardest difficulty. Is all that, do you think, just done, or do you think it may make a resurgence?
In all honesty, I mean, I feel like the only game people really love co-op in the campaign was Halo. Like outside of that, there was really no like first person shooter games that people like really like got together and was like, let's co-op this and get through the campaign. Like I know for me, most Call of Duty games I just played through by myself. Like Call of Duty 4. I mean, I was never a huge fan of the campaigns on like the older Call of Duty games back when they were in like the World War times and stuff like that. Call of Duty 4 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, whichever one you want to call it, was like the first real like campaign of Call of Duty where I was just like, wow, like this is actually really good. But I mean, I don't even know if that one had co-op campaign.
I'm pretty sure it did. Okay. I feel like
that's what I mean. Like
the airport scene, I played with someone.
Oh yeah. I kind of remember that being split.
Oh okay. Yeah. That was on 4 or was that on Modern Warfare 2?
Modern Warfare 2.
Okay. I was about to say I thought the airport scene was Modern Warfare 2.
But I think that one you could do online. I don't know if 4 was only local or not.
Yeah, I remember Modern Warfare 2. I think I played with Pete. That's why I remembered.
Okay. Yeah, no, the only game I ever like I said, the only really look forward to doing it was Halo, and that's because everybody wanted to beat it on Legendary, and that's usually where you did your co-op, and you wanted to get all the skulls so that you could get the high boost armor and all that type of stuff. But I mean, I feel like it's probably going to die out. I don't think people really want it as much as they think or much as they say. A lot of times when you don't get something, more people will just scream about it than people who are actually going to play it. And kind of the only game I feel like really suffered for it was Halo Infinite, and that's just because you're making a Halo game, so you're going to get people who've played Halo like literally from probably day one. They expect co-op campaign. Like your game is pretty much known for co-op campaign, so that was like the only game that I felt like not having it was a big blow. Because your fan base is looking forward to that, or I mean, you should know. Like every game you've ever made had it, but as for all the other games, I don't really think it matters. I think most people, as long as they can play online with each other, that's fine. But a lot of the story stuff, kind of, in a way, is almost taking like a back seat to the multiplayer side of things. Even though I guess you could say co-op campaign could be like a multiplayer facet of the game, since it's more than one player going through the campaign. But it seems like campaigns just really aren't like. Outside of this last Black Ops 6, like they really put a good campaign together for that one. But other than that, I feel like campaigns just been taking a back seat in general. So I think because there's no money there, really, I guess those type of games you really want people just playing online, get to the battle pass, all that type of stuff, and hopefully just keep them playing your game for as long as possible, so you can make as much money off of them as possible.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think the dynamic changed, and even not Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, the campaign was always taking a backseat, and I think they see it more and more every year. They even split it now, where you can buy the campaign separate and just buy multiplayer. So you could tell they're kind of just pushing a little more multiplayer. People did have the outcry. Keith, I'll need your help for the Call of Duty that really didn't have a campaign. It was just like sections of maps that you just played, like capture this area or do this task. It was like no
Black
real
Ops 4.
Yeah, I was about to say that was the one I played from the Game Pass. I was like, oh, it's this Call of Duty. People did an outcry of that, but I think it was kind of Gaines' point. They just outcried because it was different, but I don't think a lot of them people played campaign anyways.
For the Call of Duty line, Black Ops campaigns were always seen as like the best of the three dev teams who put out campaigns. The Black Ops ones were always like revered as like the most loved. So when Black Ops 4 didn't have one, I think it was more of y'all are supposed to be the best ones at this, and you don't have a campaign. And
well, it had a campaign. It was just you just got dropped in a map and you did some objectives, and then you continued the story.
Doing that because they have those in Black Ops 6 too. So like some of the maps or some of the levels or whatever you want to call them in a campaign, they're linear. They're very traditional, what you expect from a Call of Duty campaign. Like, you start here, it ushers you through, and you get to the end of the level, and you get to your next level. But there are some levels where they literally just drop you in on like it's very Far Cry like. It's like sandbox. And it's like, here's these posts, here's these points of interest, here's the main objectives you need to go like overtake or hack or destroy or whatever the main objective is. But it might be like 2 of them on the map that you got to get to. Then there's like all these other points of interest and all these other little side things you can do as well. I'm not gonna lie to you, I hate those in Call of Duty. Every time I see it, I'm just like, I really prefer the more linear, like scripted campaign levels for those games. Like, yeah, I even like the ones that's scripted to the point, and some of my favorite ones was like, especially Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, where you would take the sniper shot and it'd be you and whoever's with you, whether it's Price or whoever, and y'all both pop the shot at the same time. Like, you take the one on the right, I take the one on the left. Like, clearly it's super scripted. But like those moments just made it, you just felt like super cool, like especially on Call of Duty 4 when the all gillied up mission. When y'all were the snipers in the ghillie suits, like everybody remembers that mission. Like that it's just one of those, but it was a heavily scripted mission. Like there wasn't much freedom in that level, but it's one of the best levels. So I don't really like the sandbox stuff, maybe because I'm not a big Far Cry fan. And every time I get dropped in one of those, it reminds me of Far Cry, and I immediately start hating it. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I gotta drive this stupid truck around because I don't want to walk as far, and it's just. But one thing I will give them though on Black Ops 6, they did do a lot of fast travel. So like every time you do any point of interest, you can fast travel to that point, like at any time. And wherever you like left your vehicle, you can always fast travel back to your vehicle at any time. So I will give them that. That was one thing that alleviated a lot of the headache of those sandbox maps. They gave you the ability to fast travel all over the place, like as long as you've obviously beat that part of it. But that actually helped out a lot. So I will say that part was good thinking.
Would it make you feel a certain way if I've never played Call of Duty 4 multiplayer or campaign at all? I have
Wow,
no idea
you're
what you're
missing out.
talking about.
That's one of the best Call of Duties campaigns. I mean, you could put it up against Modern Warfare 2 though. Modern Warfare 2 had a really good campaign. Modern Warfare 3 did not.
Yeah, everyone
But
hated 3.
yeah. First Modern Warfare though. Oh man. And what you had Gillied Up, and then you had what was the other one? I forgot what it was called, but it was like Lights Out or Go Dark, and it was all night vision.
Night
through
vision
most
one. Yeah.
you get through the house with the night vision. That was crazy.
I think it was that mission that prompted them. I think the collector's edition for Modern Warfare 2 came with night vision goggles.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, those missions they were super good. Like, that's what I mean, like that was like pinnacle Call of Duty campaign. Modern Warfare 2 was really good too. It wasn't as good as was 1, but it was still top shelf quality. And then you had that shock and awe right at the beginning with the airport thing. I mean, mowing down civilians that was just so crazy because you couldn't believe you were doing it in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so crazy that they actually like gave you a warning and gave you the ability to skip it.
Yeah.
So just like you knew it was crazy. So it was one of those things like I can't believe I'm doing this, and then it's like I can't believe they was even able to get this in a game. Like, how did this happen? But I would say even that one's really the only mission I remember from Modern Warfare 2. And it's because of how crazy that part was. Whereas Modern Warfare 1, I remember those missions because they were just good missions, like through and through.
Terry, you like officially back?
I am half back, so I might have having to run away again. So,
do you want to answer the question of do you feel like co-op campaigns and co-op missions in FPS games specifically are a thing of the past?
I feel like it. I mean, the last co-op mission that anybody really cared for was the Halo series. But even then, they kind of went away from it, and they're pretty much the godfather. Well, I wouldn't say godfather for it, but everybody remembers playing Halo side by side. So I don't know. I don't think it should be a focus anymore. If they want to implement it, then sure, go for it. I'm not gonna sit there and say they shouldn't, but I'm not gonna be upset if they don't do it. Unless it's Halo, then I'll be upset that they didn't do it, which would fuel my upset. Why I'm upset for they didn't do it in what's the recent Halo?
Halo Infinite.
Yeah, they should have done that. But
So they should not have done co-op in that game?
No, they should have. Did they release it?
Oh, there's. Oh no! Oh, that's right. That's right. They were supposed to release a co-op, but I don't know if it's released yet.
It was supposed to be one, and it was supposed to come later in the game cycle, but I don't know if they ever did it.
I stopped following.
Yeah, I think when we found out that it was not in the game, and it was supposed to come out at a later release date, then it was just like, well, what's the point now? Like, Halo is known for doing co-op missions. Like, it's fun doing them co-op more than solo. So, yeah, I don't care. If they bring them back, if it's a focal point, cool. If not, cool. It doesn't change anything for me.
Seems like earlier this year in February it was released.
Oh.
Halo Infinite came out when now?
December 8th, 2021.
Ah, damn. Crazy how that works.
That's wild. That is wild.
That's crazy. Like,
we'll get y'all to go out. We're gonna get it. It's coming. It's coming.
Like, you can't sit there and say like, "Yo, we're gonna put it out," and then 3 years later, you put out multiplayer or not co-op, It's like it's Halo. People play it for co-op and for online. That is the only two reasons. Unless you're doing a challenge for solo. And now I gotta run away
Yep.
again. I'll be back.
Well, that leads us right into our Game of the Year drama.
Oh,
As many of you may have seen, the Game of the Year nominees were announced. And right before, they reminded us that a rule change was made. I believe the rule change actually was made last year so that Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty could be included inside of the nominees. That rule change was reminded again this year. The DLCs were allowed to be added. There were some requirements. I believe the length of the DLC is like one of those requirements. So everyone got upset because they knew Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree was going to make it on here somehow, some way. But people thought maybe it would only be for some of the categories, not the big two, which would be Game of the Year and Best Game Direction. Before we kind of go into like the other elements of this, just as a whole, for that rule of DLCs can be submitted for Game of the Year or any category, essentially. Do you all feel like DLCs should be included or not included, have their own category? Like, how do you feel about DLCs being a part of this show, and where should they be if you think they should be a part of the show?
I would say they probably should have their own category. I mean, there's never going to really be a DLC the same size of like any game that's going to be, a Game of the Year nominee anyway. So I don't know. I just feel like even though you can put out like a really good DLC, and not saying the effort isn't there, because obviously it does still take a lot of effort, to make a quality DLC. It's still not the same level of effort it would take to create an entire game. And with a DLC, you at least have the foundation. Like you have, a lot of the stuff there to pull from and play with and expand on. When you're building a game from the ground up, like you don't have any of that stuff. Like you kind of got to make it work from with almost nothing. So I don't feel like DLC should be in the same category as regular games, because I mean they're not regular games; they're just DLC. So maybe they should have just gave them their own little category, like I hate to say it, but like DLC of the year or something like that, or like most, I don't know, something. But I just feel like DLC should have just been kept separate, or if anything, like. Really, you don't even, I mean, I guess you kind of want to recognize them now because DLC is like so common. So it probably has to have something. But yeah, I would say probably best to just give it its own little category or something like that. Um, just to showcase, DLC that really like hit the mark, or a DLC that just you could tell they really put a lot of effort and time into it and provided you like a really solid piece of content on top of their game.
yeah. First, I was like, I wouldn't say angered or nothing, but confused DLC was there. But the more I thought about it, um, it's weird to have categories for it, like to separate it by length and stuff. But I do remember, like, was it Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Keith, or something? That DLC?
Blood and Wine.
Blood. Yeah, one of them was like really big and basically was
Yeah.
like the whole game again. Like, I remember there's some DLCs that are like that. And we also have games that come out relatively quick. Probably not the best example, but the first one I come up with was the Miles Morales. It's still under the same engine as Spider-Man. They did
Yeah.
some tweaks, but that could have been a DLC. But they just made it a separate game. So it's a blurred line there. And I get that they're trying to restrict it because, like, hey, the DLC has to have so much hours or however they're doing the restrictions. But I think it is more fair since a lot of games do use the same engine, especially a lot of the games that come out every year. They're not reinventing the engine. So they have kind of just giant DLCs coming out as full games, anyways. But there is times like The Witcher was a big one. I remember I didn't play this one that got nominated for Game of the Year, but evidently it was really good. But there is some DLCs that could be pretty much standalone games if they want to. Um, and I think some DLCs actually became standalone games. Some reason I remember like Red Dead, you could buy like a standalone of one of their DLCs.
Infamous First Light is a standalone DLC.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's gray area. Like because you attach DLC makes you not want to like it. But then once I start thinking about it, and I remember the like I said, I'm just gonna say Witcher. I know people loved that DLC, like that just brought like double game time and brought the story together. So I could see it being in there. But yeah, just the criteria, trying to figure that out and finding out what's worth being in that category.
Where are we at?
DLC as
Game of the Year drama. Do you think, to start off with, do you think DLC should be incorporated into the Game of the Year showcase? Should it be its own category? Should it be, or do you think it's fine that it's incorporated into any of the categories that are up for that year?
Make it its own category, or don't do anything with it at all. DLC shouldn't be counted towards. Like maybe make it like the best add-on, best, like a category of best add-on for the year or something like that. I don't know. It shouldn't be included in Game of the Year though, unless it's its own standalone. That is the only
So I think there are caveats to best DLC, because you have, I don't know how many DLCs come out a year, especially of like that magnitude. I doubt it's like that many really. So I think when you do that, then it's like, well, someone's just basically gonna be a shoe-in. There's no really even point of having this. You might as well just say DLC of the year is this person, and here are the other nominees for everything else.
Here's Map Pack 18.
Yeah, that's Map Pack 18.
Well, yeah, I guess you'd have to make a definition of what a DLC is too at that point. Like, is it adding such and such to the game? Like, it has no business being in any of the categories. And if they did, then make it its own category.
And then you have best ongoing game, which I don't even think you could put it into that real. Like you could, but that more so is for like your Fortnite, your Destinies, your Final Fantasies, games that are just constantly kind of pumping out content.
I mean, that's always
ongoing. It's a live game essentially. So
isn't that always the nominations? Final Fantasy 14, Destiny, Fortnite. Isn't that always the
yeah, and then toss in whoever the other two are, or other three. But yeah,
I don't know why it's always going to be between those three.
Yeah, so just whoever.
Warcraft, there you go.
I think Diablo 4 now is in the mix, but yeah, it's
I see Diablo 4 winning it then.
So I personally don't know what to do with the whole deal. I also do not feel like it should be up for a Game of the Year. I feel like you already have like your skeleton and everything to work with, and Shadow of the Erdtree, unlike like Infamous First Light, it's its own kind of thing. Like you start off and it has callbacks to Infamous Second Son, but it's its own thing. You could play it and not need Infamous Second Son at all. Versus Erdtree, where you you're still in that world, you're still in like your character kind of still progressing through. So it's a already kind of done thing, if you will. Like as much as I love Blood and Wine from Witcher 3, like I wouldn't say that should, like, you already had something there and you building off of that. That's all you're doing. So to me, it's not as impressive as a game that has been 4 or 5 years in the making, and now you kind of drop it. And granted, like Roger said, I know a lot of people are using certain engines that are kind of similar, but for me, just whatever this singular experience is, or because the damn year Overwatch one, whatever this thing is that you made.
I don't care what anybody says. Overwatch deserved it.
Uncharted 4 should have got it that year.
That's a DLC game. It doesn't count.
but I think it's just gonna take away from the other, especially if it wins. I think it like takes away from a lot, like just having it there already, I think is a problem. If it wins, I think it's gonna make more of a problem for them. But Geoff Keighley said it's so funny too. Just quick sidebar. So apparently he took himself off of the board several years back. I forget what game won, and people, I guess, were just atting him on Twitter and just trying to take his head off for whatever game won, saying basically he's in cahoots with that publisher, and that's why like he made it so. So apparently he took himself off the board. So this year when he announced the nominees, he said, "Oh, here's the Game of the Year nominees. By the way, just so you remember, I'm not on the board." I guess he did not want those ats this year, but I thought it was super funny, but now people are like, oh, so people on the board now they're in cahoots with these devs and these publishers, and basically it's turned into the Billboard Awards that Roger knows I hate.
Oh,
But
I hate them too. So
but to go beyond that, Black Myth Wukong, now they have an issue with that game being nominated as well, saying that it's one of the lowest, or it is the lowest rated Game of the Year nominee ever, and that Yakuza Like a Dragon lost this spot not only the Erdtree but also the Black Myth, which is the lowest rated game. Do you think those ratings should, like, how heavily do you all rate them? Like, do you feel some type of way that Black Myth got it over or Yakuza, despite Yakuza having the better rating of the popular score and the Metacritic? Or do those numbers not mean anything to you, and it's subjective to whatever that board decides to vote on?
I wouldn't say the numbers mean nothing, but I would say that the thing that should trump all is basically the gamers, the people who actually play the game. Like, I mean, Wukong sold like crazy, so it's like, a ton of people are playing it. It's not just like a small faction of people with like just really loud voices, screaming for this game. Like, no, it's like millions and millions and millions of people who bought this game and saying how great of a game it is. So I feel like that should always hold more weight than, whatever critics felt about it, because that can always be hit or miss. A critic is still one person. So it's like, just because they're a video game critic, I mean, they're still one person. You might have somebody reviewing the game that really don't even play those kind of games. So you're probably not going to view it too great because it's not your genre of game. And believe it or not, I mean, a lot of those critics, they have to play games that's really not their game, so to speak. But they still have to like critique it and review it. I don't really know how you do that for a game that you don't like. Like, it's like if I had to review, I don't know, like Pokemon trading card game or something. Like, I don't play it. I don't play those type of games. How would I ever review it and tell you if it's good or not? Like, it's just weird to me. But I would say it should be focused on the gamers, the people who actually play the game, the people who are buying the games. That should be the heaviest factor into who gets on the Game of the Year nominee.
yeah, I don't know if the Game Awards announce like their criteria for Game of the Year. I know a lot of other awards show usually do it to kind of help combat that thing, even though they're like 60% of it's the board, and then 20% is like popular vote or whatever.
Mhm.
But rankings, yeah, they shouldn't weigh like heavy on that. Game of the Year, I know this year was kind of just crazy in general. But it should be like what people talked about the most. Like, to me, Game of the Year, what like improved gaming or made something spectacular. Like, why should you? Game of the Year should be a game that changed something for that year, like brought something new. For example, that's why probably Call of Duty's never there. It's kind of Call of Duty. Like, we get the same thing. So it's something that brings something unique. To touch on the Infinite Wealth, I don't think Infinite Wealth should have been Game of the Year. That had its problems too. It was a good game, but I think like with Black Myth, just everyone talked about that game. That was just looked good visually. It was fun. I never heard anyone even complain about one thing about it. I think there was like minor things, but
What, you talking Black Myth?
yeah.
On console, it had performance issues,
Well,
like a lot of screen tearing
we
and
don't
stuff
count.
like that.
We don't count the console people.
It's not
But-
wrong. We don't know. They're not real people.
But if you had a PC, the game was fun.
Yeah.
But no, so to me, it's Game of the Year is something that like did something innovative. We actually see that with one of the indie titles. But it's like something that made it unique for the year. And that can be a very popular game. It could be kind of the board thinking, hey, this game was something that stood out. So you're always going to get that little mix, but it depends how you define Game of the Year.
True.
Okay, T-Chain.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
No, I was listening to see if I had to run upstairs for something. Shit, I literally just lost my train of thought now. Come back to me, Keith.
Well, I don't think the numbers should weigh a whole lot. I think I'll be the cynic. It is turning into the Billboard Awards in a way. I think we found that out about like 2 or 3 years ago when they were like, "Oh yeah, like cast your popular vote," and that vote like has weight within who gets Game of the Year. And then it turned out like the votes that you do
10%.
online are like, yeah, it's like 10% or like 20% of it is like counted towards like the votes that they do for the board or whatever. So I was like, well, this sucks. But and the whole game show was originated out of like the gamers choose. I think the early years we were actually choosing and all that, and now it's kind of now that more sponsors are coming in, more people are starting to. Now the show's gone from I think the show used to be like maybe an hour or so, and then it's like an hour and a half. Now it's like probably gonna be 3 hours because they said they got so many trailers to show off. So yeah, it's probably like, hey, yeah, I got this trailer for you. You got my award, like so. So like, so I don't really care about the numbers a whole lot because now I do see that we're getting a Billboard Music Award status of favor for favors and things of that nature. The cynic in me says that. I think they get it right sometimes, but that's pretty much where I have to be at with that now. So yeah, I'm sorry, Yakuza. I thought JRPGs were gonna run table this year, but we lost a little bit of firepower in that Game of the Year category. So yeah. We are too deep though. We got Final Fantasy and Metaphor to try to win it for us. All right, that's what we got going for us. So,
Final Fantasy,
Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, Black Myth Wukong, Erdtree, and what's the game that starts with a B? Balut? No, it's not Balut.
It's a card game.
It's a card game. I know it is. Okay.
Bombalot? No.
Wow.
I didn't say that other It's I know it starts with a B. That's all I know. I can see the cover of it. I just know it starts with a B. I hope I'm close. So I'm like, hi, see.
I don't think you're anywhere close.
No, you're not.
But how do you pronounce it, Roger?
Oh, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I could spell it for you. Balatro.
Baltar?
Ultra.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, whatever you just said, Keith. That's how you say it. Look at you pronounce it.
Balut, Baltro. I think they're in the ballpark.
I don't think Balut and Baltro are the same things.
They're not, Terry. They're not at all. But although the drama exists within the Game Awards, as with a lot of award shows, hopefully it'll be a great show. Hopefully we'll get some great trailers and see what we have cooking up in store for us going forward. But to take a look back on the year, like what has been your game of the year? Terry, this will replace our game picks, so you don't have to go with 2 games.
I don't know why you asked me this question.
I know this part of the podcast is a struggle for you sometimes. Just whatever your favorite game.
Final Fantasy VII came out this year. There we go. We're gonna announce that Final Fantasy VII is gonna win Game of the Year. And
no, what's your personal one?
Nope. Final Fantasy VII is gonna win Game of the Year. We're gonna leave it at that. Actually, Wukong might win it.
Hey, I think Wukong will win it, but my pick is Astrobot. I really like the Astrobot.
Yeah, I was about to say Astrobot was mine too. I think it brought back an old genre that was struggling. It was popular in the 64 era, and obviously a lot of the controls changed and never updated, but Astrobot brought the fun back. I know the card game I actually played. I don't actually know how they go on the list. It's fun, but I didn't think it was like game of the year.
I want to go back and look, but I think previous years there's always that one like random game in there that had like high acclaim, but didn't have like the best commercial success, but it was rated like very, very high by everyone. I feel like they always throw that like dark horse in there just to have them in there at this point.
Yeah,
but that one did though. I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say Astrobot to me was probably game of the year. I enjoyed playing that game and just was entertained the whole time.
I'm gonna go with I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will win, but since Terry already said that, I'll go with Metaphor. I think they really improved on the Persona God, formula that they got going, and the story actually, like when you get to the end and they start kind of tighten up those bowstrings, and you're like, oh wow, they wasted very very little dialogue. So I thought that was absolutely excellent. Great story. If you haven't played it, it's phenomenal story. Good, very good battle system as well too. If you put it on hard, it is hard. It's a very unforgiving battle system. So like go into it knowing that, but you also could put it on easy if you really want, very easy breezy walk through or run through of the game. So either or, all up to you. But that's going to do it for this Game of the Year podcast. We hope that you enjoyed your time here. Any thoughts, please drop them in the comments. Hit a like and a thumbs up. Wait, thumbs up is a like. Hit buttons. Hit buttons. All right, just hit buttons down there. Just not the one with the thumbs down. All right, does that one still exist? I heard they were taking it off YouTube. I don't know. Just hit the positive buttons. There we go, guys. Hit them positive ones. Stay in touch. I'm sure, I hope that we have our annual Mario Party game that will be hitting the channel soon. As long as the stars align, be on the lookout for that. But to be on the lookout for it, you got to hit the notification button. That's a button I need you to hit. All right. But with that, you all, thanks for tuning in. And as usual, peace, be blessed.
Do we have to add a rating to promising videos like DLC now?
Yes. Yes. That is the thing.